Miami just did it when they went to the finals.
Yeah.
Went up to New York, knocked them out, went to Boston and beat Boston, and then got in the NBA Finals and almost won the finals.
I think you went a little too far with that part.
But I mean, they got close.
They didn't almost win no finals. But you're right.
All right, so we back.
We back.
This is the 3-on-3 show. I'm Bob.
JaVale McGee.
Chris Johnson.
I'm Dwyane Wade. We're excited to invite JaVale to sit down, a three-time champion.
Three-time champ.
Let me say that again, a three-time champion.
Three-time champ.
How you feeling in that chair, big fella? You feeling comfortable in that chair? We ain't had a 7-footer sitting in the chair yet. Let us know. We just got this.
It's that real leather, huh?
Yeah. We spent, look,
It's real nice.
a lot of other stuff maybe $199, but these we spent a little money behind.
Spend all the money on this right here.
As athletes, man, like this is the most exciting time of the year for us.
Absolutely.
Because we got something to talk about.
Yeah, for most of us.
The ones that's out here. Not the ones that's playing,
That's
right?
in it. It's the most stressful time. Getting traded? Oh.
And
you don't know either?
So is this the most trades we've seen?
I don't think it's the most, but I do think it's the most impactful. It's a lot of big dogs
big
being
names.
traded. Yeah, it's a lot of big names being moved around. I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of the head, but this many big names being shifted around in one season, I don't know. I don't think I've seen it.
I like it.
Is it just names being moved around, or does it make any impact?
Yeah.
Like, is it just people shifting? Like, here, you take this, but is it like these moves are making big impact trades, or is it just people just shifting?
That's what we were talking about earlier about Jimmy going to the Golden State Warriors.
Right. Does that change anything in your eyes for Golden State?
Absolutely. Jimmy
100%.
No dog.
is a monster. But when you put him in a position to be free, and I'm thinking about Drew Holiday, I'm not taking Jimmy's level of play down, but I'm looking at Steph and Dre, and then you add Jimmy to it in a proven system, defensively and offensively.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the young fella Kuminga better.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that. That's right.
He slips to the basket when screening for Steph.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dribble handoff guy. And when it's below the last 5 minutes, he can literally take over the game. Me training Jimmy for almost 9 years, I always had the conversation with him about going into a situation like this. He always...
When you say going into a situation like this, clear it up. What does that mean?
Like this.
What does like this mean?
Okay.
Like this.
Yes, please.
A situation where he can be the 2 or 3.
So the situation where he's not the number one option.
Where he's not the number one option.
Okay, there you go.
And the reason being is not because he's not number one. It frees him up to just kill the other team. He can get you 12 rebounds in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy can play in the post. Jimmy can play in pick and roll, whether he's dribbling the ball or screening.
Mm-hmm.
He can DHO.
Mm-hmm.
He's took Miami to the finals when they were a play-in team. And the role players are playing at a high level. Now, Steph ain't no role player.
All right, so the one thing I want to ask JaVale, because you played in Golden State, right? You won rings there. I don't know because we haven't seen it, but the system.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the system. We know that the system is baked and built for Steph Curry.
For sure.
How does a player like Jimmy, with his style and with the way he played, how does he fit into the system there?
Truthfully, I think the system is set up clearly, like you said, for Steph, but it's also set up for the right pieces to come in and fit right in and flow right in because it's moving. So inserting Jimmy in there, a dog, like everyone knows, someone who could score, defend, rebound, shoot. He can set and shoot. So he fills that clay spot of being out there and being able to shoot anything. He can shoot. And then he fills that clay spot on the defensive end. But then he brings in something that I don't know they had yet, which is a Draymond energy of controlling the team and speaking up and knowing what type of energy we need to. So him and Draymond together on that mental aspect, I don't think people are talking about that much enough.
They won an Olympics together in Brazil.
Yeah.
I got them prepared for that. They got close during that time. Draymond, Jimmy, Kyle Lowry, these guys were very close.
Yeah.
And I think Steph was on that team also. He was in Brazil. And so when you look at that and that dynamic, it's totally setting that team up to be different.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 3-year play, right? Like, this is an all-in probably for the next 3 years for Golden State.
Yeah.
Right? You want to say that. And when you got one of the greatest players to ever put on a jersey, it's your duty to make sure that they have an opportunity when they say, I need more,
right,
to make sure you give them more. And so, obviously, they try to pull off other moves, but this is the move that they end up getting. And when I look at this from Jimmy's standpoint, I go back to the Jimmy that I knew at Marquette, the Jimmy that I knew in Chicago at first, before he became an all-star Jimmy, the Jimmy that is just like a wild dog off the leash because he can now just be Jimmy. And he don't have to worry about scoring 56 this night. Now he can.
He can.
But now he can just be a wild dog off the leash. And that Jimmy
is different.
That Jimmy can be different. And so I'm excited about that.
The same Jimmy that played in Philly. So I got a story to tell about Jimmy after All-Star LA. He tore his meniscus. We was in Houston. Eurostep, right leg, tore the meniscus. That night, Jimmy and I playing dominoes. I said, Jimmy, you got the bag. Let's shut it down. Get your surgery, and then we're going to get better because his work ethic is next level. He looked at me, said, no, Minnesota deserves to be in the playoffs while I'm here. And I was like, think about that. We flew back to Minnesota, had the surgery. We were out back to LA to start training. I have the photos and pictures of him sitting in a chair, shooting jumpers at UCLA, shooting jumpers, ball handling the next day after surgery. Nobody knew that. Everybody said, why is Jimmy in LA and why is he doing? We did treatment at 6 in the morning. We were on the court at 7 a.m. We had a complete regimen and we did it for almost 3.5, 4 weeks. He said, if this team can stay steady, I'm going to will us to the playoffs and I'm going to give Minnesota what they deserve. And I try to talk him out of doing it, and you go check the record book. We got back, I think, with 3 games left. They beat Denver to get into the playoffs, went in against a good Houston team, which did a great job of taking him away and winning that series. But he didn't have to come back and get ready.
Right.
That's the Jimmy that I'm thinking we're going to see in Golden State.
I never heard that, though.
I know it because I never told it. It's just me. And I'm going to give Bob the photos where they're going to show Jimmy sitting in a chair with me, with him dribbling like this and shooting with the Minnesota Timberwolves shirt on. Everybody is looking at the Jimmy of the Miami Heat and what's going on with the saga. But to be honest with you, that's my brother. That's your brother. Behind the scenes, he's probably one of the best competitors there are. Well, he's keeping score of everything.
You're never going to question, well, not you're never going to. If you've played with him, if you've been around Jimmy, you're not going to question the competitor,
right? In
Jimmy Butler, you're never going to say anything about the work ethics when it comes to Jimmy Butler. Like that's one thing that is off limits to talk about if you know the guy,
if you know him.
But does this make the Warriors dangerous?
It does, because we talked about the playoffs.
Absolutely, it makes the Warriors.
Well, let's talk about the playoffs. So right now they're on the outside, probably, right? They're on the outside.
They're like 10.
Okay,
but they've been playing without Draymond.
They in. When the new system, they in.
So you get a veteran team like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now you put in some veteran guys, and now you get them coming in, let's say roughly 7th, 8th, 9th seed, right around there.
How many games we gonna have left? Because All-Stars next week.
We probably have like 35 games left.
This is when the good get going.
Right. And so you look at the teams up top. You look at OKC, you look at Memphis, and you look at Houston.
I'm very afraid for the young teams to catch a Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy team
in the first round.
I'm afraid for them, for all 3 teams. Why would you want to catch a Braun, Luka?
Yeah, you don't want to catch that.
Right. Like, what are we?
You don't got enough experience.
There you go.
Running to players that's been in the playoffs, far in the playoffs, like 8 years out of their career.
Yeah.
And that's your first Sheesh.
Yeah.
Not first or second. That's rough.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one thing right there, experience. And, we talk about all the time, they say experience can't be taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through experience. And so when you're looking at an OKC team who was very good last year, lost in the second round because they didn't have experience, they come back this year, they're very good, probably going to have an MVP, still don't have a lot of experience, right? Second round experience is all they got together.
Right.
Are you afraid that a team like the Lakers or Golden State that has got these veteran guys that can sneak up at that bottom can take them out?
For you, what would you say is more important, experience or matchup? Because I think
the
that's
wrong
what you're
matchup.
thinking. Right, because you're looking at Golden State and potentially playing one of the top teams, and they're catching on to the Lakers. Is it a matchup situation or experience or both?
Both.
Yeah. It's
That matchup is dangerous, bro.
It's a combination. I mean,
sometimes a matchup can be figured out.
Sometimes sometimes it's just bad matchups.
Yeah.
All right. So let me share a story with you. We were talking about this earlier, and this is not even on this level, but I think you remember the year when we played Boston in the playoffs and we won one game. Remember that? I had 46 and we won one game. That was a bad matchup, right?
Yes.
But leading up into that, we had one game left to play at the end of the season. If we lose the game, we play Atlanta.
I remember that.
We win, we play Boston. The year before, we had just played Atlanta and we lost in 7 games. I want that get back, right? I want that get back that next year. So I'm thinking, let's lose this game. This is the last game of the season. Don't count. Our bench players was not rolling. Our bench players was not rolling.
Right.
So we ended up winning the game and we had to play Boston. Now that's the big 3 Boston. Well, 4 with Rondo. And we wound up winning one game. Luckily, we wound up winning one game, but that was a bad matchup.
Right.
But you put us in we play Atlanta, where it's a better matchup for us, and then the bracket is even better. Now it's like Atlanta, it's like Orlando, it's like Charlotte. Well, Orlando was Dwight, so
Right.
do not disrespect that, Orlando. But matchups, I'm looking at matchups. I'm like, this is a better matchup for us in the playoffs. Not that I'm running from the smoke.
Yeah.
But just knowing my team and knowing the regular season, how we've played teams, I'm like, this matchup gives us a better chance than 7. This one gets us in home very early. Like, we ain't even been in the playoffs.
How different would it have been in your era if playing was a thing, where you could be 10 and still have an option to make it to the playoffs?
That's a good question.
Because like you're saying, matchups, and some players are like, well, let's lose this first playing game, play this team to get 8.
Miami did it.
You know what I'm
Miami
saying?
just did it when they went to the finals.
Yeah.
They were in a play-in situation, wound up catching a wounded Bucks team, swept they butt, went up to New York, knocked them out, went to Boston and
Won the
beat
7.
Boston, and then got in the NBA Finals and almost won the finals.
I think you went a little too far with that part.
But I mean,
they
got close.
They didn't almost win no
how many
finals.
games they win?
It's a world.
They didn't win 4. They didn't almost win no finals. But you're right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That is great. I think when I first heard about the play-in, I was like, oh, this is great for younger teams, the younger players, so they can get some experience to be able to play meaningful games, right? But then now you reverse it and you look at a Lakers when you get a chance to. Now you get those guys who may not have. Not right now, they're playing 5, but like the last couple of years, they've been in that playoff game. Now they've met the wrong matchup, but it was dangerous seeing LeBron and AD down there at that 9, the 8, 9, 10 spot.
Very much so.
They played Denver first round.
never
They played
know.
Denver first round 2 years in a. They got Denver 2 years in a row, first round and second one. So,
And if they win that first round game,
yeah,
they're out of there.
yeah. All right. So what you were asking me about is something that we talked about is coaching. Right, we keep talking about coaching, and obviously this is a player league. But when you're reaching that level of Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, and the finals, it has to be a little bit more than just the players, right? It's who's on that sideline. And so I have a breakdown where how I went into series, and I'm like, okay, the goal is to win 4 games, and my breakdown was star players have to win you 2 games, role players have to win you 1 game, and the coaches have to win you 1 game. And when I say coaches has to win you 1 game, meaning the adjustments that the coaches has to make from one loss to the next game is so important, especially on the road.
Right.
And so if I want to go in and steal one on the road, yes, my star players got to bring it, but my coaches have to put that game plan together to make these adjustments from game 1 to game 2.
Absolutely.
To make sure that we can walk in here and feel confident that we can steal this game, both offensively and defensively.
And that don't mean it's a large adjustment. It might be a large adjustment or a small adjustment.
Small adjustment.
But the adjustment
But I
definitely
need you to
matters.
make an adjustment for us
Absolutely.
because we lost that game 1. The game 1 is just a little sparring session, but we lost that game. So I need my coaches to go in that lab Let them come back with some shit that they ain't ready for.
Can the adjustment be moving a piece like a player that didn't play in that first game and then come in?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's adjustments. But your coach has to win you one game. And sometimes by winning that one game, it's an adjustment that they make to help you win a game. And a lot of times you want that to be on the road. Yep. Because if you're going to win the finals, you have to win on the road for the most part.
You do have to
and
win.
So, but then I'll say the road players got to win your game. And so I go back into 2 finals that I played in, 2012 and 13. Game 5 at home versus OKC. Mike Miller hit 7 threes.
No shoe.
One shoe. One shoe. One shoe, one sock. When our role players hit 7 threes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to next year. Game 7 versus San Antonio. After game 6, after Ray Allen hit that amazing shot that we're going to talk about forever.
Right.
Game 7, Shane Battier hit 6 threes. So when I say role players have to give you one, they have to give you those kind of games. But normally those games coming at home. Those games don't come on the road.
Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot.
It's very rare that a role player gonna give you 7 threes on the road. But so that was how my breakdown was star players got to get you 2. Coaches got to get you 1, and your role players got to get you 1. That's how you win 4 games when you get to that level.
It looks like we're going to be having a lot of conversations about what's going to be happening in these playoffs with all these trades that have happened.
Yeah.
Right? So you look at all this, like you got obviously the big one that happened that we talked about with Luka and AD, but then you also got to look at, to me, one of the trades that I actually love is the one with Swipe with the Fox over going to
Dwyane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For the fact that the Spurs didn't really give up that much for them to get that, to add that piece to what they have right now. Now. You look at that, and you look at what Toronto did. They got now. Did that happen officially? Brandon Ingram.
Yep, Brandon Ingram. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Toronto's in the playoffs yet. Who did Toronto send in New Orleans? Davion. They didn't send Davion Mitchell.
Davion going to Miami.
I like that.
But what you like about the Fox trade, right? San Antonio has been looking for a fit point guard because Victor's next level. And they're right in that play-in situation. They're right there. And we want to see Victor
in the playoffs. Absolutely. That would be great for the game.
It's great for the game because he's an impact player.
Absolutely.
And I think Fox is going to be better as a number 2 versus being a number 1 for Sacramento.
Well, I don't even think he's going to look like a number 2 in San Antonio. I think more nights he's going to look like a number 1.
Yeah.
He's going to have the ball, right? And to me, he's going to give him a little Tony Parker. What Tony Parker did for the Spurs is, they half-court offense, they was incredible. But they had unpredictable players like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili that really made them special. And so for me, De'Aaron Fox becomes unpredictable with that. Like, when CP, what you're going to have. Slow it down, run his offense, get it to the big man. With Swipe, you don't know what's going to happen. He don't get that much. Very similar to Tony Parker. So he makes them a little unpredictable. Right. And I think when you have a big guy like Victor, where he needs the ball, or you want to give him the ball, that becomes a little predictable. Okay, we're going to throw it back to him and let him get his numbers and let him work. Well, Swipe, you don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
And now the way he shoots the basketball as well, that was one of the most seamless. It just fits. That trade just fits.
It does.
It makes all the sense in the world.
It's a good trade, bro. Absolutely. It's a good trade. What about, we were talking about, nobody really talked about it, kind of like happened, but I think Kuz.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, JaVale made a point about it.
We was talking about it earlier. Kuz, I feel like he has a leader energy, but he doesn't have a leader. He has a leader energy to himself. He's not bring everybody in with you. Right. He's going to work hard. He's going to be in the gym early. He's going to do all the work ethic things. But I don't think he has the mind of, I have to get this guy, I have to get this guy, I have to get this guy. When we played on the Lakers, when we won in 2020, he was so locked in on whatever Bron does, I'm in there early with him too. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm following this energy and it's going to pay off. And it paid off. He played well. He played very well. So putting him in that position with Giannis, being behind Giannis and being able to see Giannis's work ethic, what Giannis does every day.
He's going to play well.
It's going to put him at a whole different level. And especially when they go to the playoffs, you're going to really see how he can impact the game.
Yeah, I think you look at a guy like Kuz, and we talked about this, is good organizations in the league, there's bad organizations in the league, for whatever reason that is. And when you watch a player like Kuz in a good organization, a good place with the Lakers when you guys won, you saw a player that you really, really liked.
Yeah.
And you really got a chance to watch all his strengths. You very rarely saw his weaknesses. You put him in Washington where they don't really know what they're doing right now.
Or even Kuz before Bron got there.
Before Bron got there, right?
Lakers.
Yeah.
Same team.
Right.
It's really the pieces that I guess the GMs and everybody up top put in place really help certain players.
Yeah, because he's not when you're in a bad system or a bad organization or the coaching with the visions is different, you look bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you get put in the right environment, the right organization around the right people, you look good.
Sure.
And so Kuz is one of those players that has shown us through his career, when he's in the wrong environment, he be doing some dumb shit.
Right.
You be like, Kuz, what you doing?
Right.
Because we know you better than that.
Right.
But when you see Kuz in the right environment with the right people, you be like, I want to play with that guy.
Right.
Because he's a big shot maker and taker. And you cannot, that right there is something that's hard to do for someone. Kuz don't mind taking a game-winning shot. He won't even think second about it. I think he hit one in the bubble.
Yeah,
he hit a game-winner for you guys? From out of bounds. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Kuz do, not only with Giannis, but obviously also with Dame. Because Dame is someone we know who works as well. And so to have those two guys that, not saying that they're can win the East right now. We don't know what they're going to do, but to have those two guys there for him, I think this is a career-saving moment for someone like Kuz.
When you look at their coaching staff and you look at the pedigree and what they're trying to do, you just got to show up as him. And anytime you get someone that's a good him.
right him.
He just show up as him.
Right.
And he can shoot it. If you go look at his numbers at Washington, he was putting the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
It just, when you play bad basketball and it's not winning basketball, it just don't look as
piles
good.
on your compounds, for sure.
I
I played in Washington before. And I don't know what it is. I don't know but it's just it's just, because when I was there, it was the same thing. It was they're not good basketball players. They're childish, blah, blah. But if this is, you come into the league and it's all you know, it's like, this is what it is. And then when you go to a good organization, you're like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, it's a
whole different world.
So even for the young guys, I know this is probably on subject but off subject, me dealing with the guys coming in for pre-draft. This is a conversation that we talk to them about. Don't worry about what number you pick. Let's see if we can get you to the right.
Oh, yeah.
A good team.
A good team.
You're right about that.
And this is so important because if you can get to the right situation, your career is different.
Absolutely.
If you're in the wrong situation, you might be out of the league.
Well, let's look at Drew Holiday. Okay, Drew Holiday, very good player early on in Philly and New Orleans. Very good basketball player. Can score the basketball, can defend and all that.
Everything.
But then you put Drew Holiday with the Milwaukee Bucks. Immediately they win a championship. Then he goes and win him a gold. It immediately changes everything you thought about Drew Holiday as a winner. Then you put him with the Celtics and you see him do the same thing. Forever now, everybody's associating him with being like he's talked about like a number one option with what his impact is.
Right.
He's like a third, fourth option at times on a team, but his impact feels like a number one option because of putting him in certain situations.
When he came in there, he was number one for a long time.
For sure.
In New Orleans, but so he has it. He has it. But to see him do his thing is great. I guess
to go from that to the third or fourth option and still have that same level of impact, you don't see that often.
At all.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't see that often.
That lets you know his ability to think the game. Basketball IQ, his ability to know how to be a star in this role. And I think that's, when you look at young guys in the NBA, you look at even anywhere basketball player, if you can't get a player to do what Drew, you can't win a championship. Like, you have to be a star in your role. Think about how many guys that you needed to be a star in their role. And that's where what really pushes the needle for these teams is who can be a star.
And that goes back to Kuz with the Lakers, JaVale, Dwight with the Lakers, Rondo with the Lakers when they won the championship. Those guys starred in their roles.
Everybody knew what they had to do. Everybody knew what they had to do. It was certain, even like we was talking about coaches having to change things. Frank Vogel was changing lineups every series. So just being able to, I don't think me and Dwight played or in the whole Houston series.
I remember that.
Like, just so he was really like,
how did you handle that? How did you deal with that?
I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a hooper. So first of all, it's like, no, I want to play. But at the same time, it's like, do I want a championship or do I want to bitch about playing right now? So it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some people, and some people don't have that humbleness in themselves to be able to just get over it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some people like, nah, fuck that. Nah, it's and make a problem and then falter what could happen for them in the future.
Yeah.
And I don't think people think ahead enough for that. But I feel like early on in my career, I had been put in so many positions to where like I knew what could happen if I make this decision, how my future could go. So I've always been great at sitting in prideful moments, thinking about it. Of course, in my mind going off, you know what I'm saying? But sitting down and saying like, what's the bigger picture here?
Right.
And the bigger picture in that situation was to win a championship.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
It was bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
So we were sitting here, and obviously, you know, as soon as the trades happened, everybody was running to their microphones.
Right.
And Chris brought it to my attention. He was like, well, JaVale played with AD, the Lakers, and also you played with Luka in Dallas.
Yep.
And so, please, I want to know your perspective on the moves, sending AD to Dallas, and what that may look like, what that may feel like, especially as a big guy who now he's surrounded with other bigs, like you guys had when you guys won a championship. What's your perspective on the AD move to Dallas?
I think for AD in Dallas is going to be great. Having Kyrie with the ball, having Clay out there shooting, spreading the floor.
Yeah.
And playing defense, and then having the young guys, the young bigs there behind him playing the five.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to play that 4 position that he's been speaking about for the past 4 years, that he wants to play the 4. He don't want to play the 5. So I think it's a perfect position for him. The thing I don't want to say worried about for Luka in LA is we all know how Luka played in Dallas to where it was Luka has the ball, everybody else just sit around and wait for Luka to make some magic.
Yeah.
How is that going to work with Brian on your side, who's usually ball heavy, and then with everybody else on the team? Like, how is that? Is JJ Redick gonna change it to Luka ball in Dallas, or is he gonna come up with a whole different plan to where we get to really, like I said, put those pieces together and make something happen? That's why I have no idea how this is gonna look.
The Anthony Davis to Dallas, I think it makes sense to everybody from the standpoint of it fits with what they say they want to do. When you think about Jason Kidd as a coach, when you think about the defensive mindset to win championships, et cetera, that makes sense. And now you bring Luka over here, outside of all the glitz and the glam of what he brings, now you say, okay, how does this work basketball-wise? I think the thing is where LeBron James always, I think his gift is he will always be willing to give up certain things of his game, but if he don't feel that he should, then he's not.
It makes sense, yeah, for sure. And he can't deny that one. He can't deny Luka.
Right,
like,
so you're not going to deny Luka.
Yeah.
So what that means is, I mean, in the standpoint, now we get to see other facets of LeBron's game that we saw in moments. I think we're going to see more facets of that when they playing together. I think JJ has to do a great job of the minutes when they playing together and how they're doing that. And I don't think it's just get both of them the ball and just have people running up back and forth.
Right.
Because they don't have the shooters around yet that they're going to need. But LeBron becomes this, I think he becomes even more dangerous quarterback with this team now with Luka. Because if Luka off the ball, first of all, what you going to do if Luka on the court and he off the ball? He can spot up shoot.
He can shoot.
He's not leaving Luka.
He can catch and post up.
And he can post up. But I think what we get excited about with LeBron is we love Bron on the move.
Man,
I love seeing LeBron in that pocket on the move, being a quarterback, being able to, as you talk about, getting that ball in this area.
I call it the Draymond Green pick and roll.
Yeah, there you go.
Draymond is one of my favorites in the world at playing the short roll at 50%. And I've talked to Bron about that, and we worked on that. But if you watch what JJ has done with this year's team, Bron is scoring more off of the 45-degree cut, the slips, the slipping of screens, the pick short roll, making plays on the weak side. He's playing without the basketball.
For sure.
And he's actually harder to guard as a moving target. You still cannot guard.
No, he's harder.
LeBron James as a moving target.
Yeah.
And he passes the ball at a high level.
Yeah.
So adding Luka to what JJ have already put in place for this year's team it's going to be seamless. I'll be the one to go out there and say it will be seamless because his IQ is high.
For sure.
And when you take what you've learned in last year's finals, you take what he's learned over the years of being a winner and scoring. We're not talking about the last 5 minutes of the game. Last 5 minutes of the game is Luka Bron show. You can just put the other three on the other side of the court.
Well, yeah, Kyrie Luka.
This is what I think though, and I think if Bron is able to sprinkle a little bit of how he leads teams on Luka and how Bron takes care of his body on Luka, this might be the best play the Lakers have ever done because Bron has the ability to mold Luka to be even better. Like you already know who Luka is at 25.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if he was gotten better shape, he's averaging over 30 out of shape. You get what I'm saying?
That don't even compute to me. A guy who, at that level, when I'm hearing this narrative about him being out of shape, what is that? That doesn't compute to me. Because you can't do what you do being out of shape.
But what it is it's 40 minutes of offense. That takes a lot, and it's a lot of this.
Well, yeah.
This is a lot. This takes a lot of energy. So it's hard to play defense after you done did all that. If you're not in grind shape, $1 million a year putting on my body shape. You get what I'm saying? Luka's a European, and everybody knows European basketball is different. You sit in the locker room, they smoking cigarettes at halftime. Yeah. So it's more of it's the same, and I feel like it's the same as when we come from where we come from. We like, my homie used to smoke Blackwoods and blah, blah. It's a lot of kids that are dogs that come into the league and they still have those bad habits.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like that's just a European habit. Yeah. And once he cuts those European habits of having a beer after every game and smoking, I don't think he smokes cigarettes, but just those European habits, and then Bron sprinkles just a little bit on it, it's over.
I also think that coaches help in that. A lot of things what coaches do is they leave players on the floor too long because they're very good. And so this is a conversation I had with Spo over the years, and I didn't like it because as a player, you want to be out there your max minutes. But as I got a little, not older in my 30s, but as I started getting older, Spo would take my minutes down. And he was like, you're going to be more productive in the least amount of minutes because you out there getting rest because you're doing so much on offense. So I got to look at JJ, and I got to say, JJ, you have to make sure that you're looking at Luka not just because he's so great with the ball, that you're just keeping him on the floor all the time. You may have to cut back Luka minutes a little bit. Doesn't mean his scoring going to go down because he scores at a high clip.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I say, like, coaching has to help you.
For sure.
Right? You can't just get Luka in a Laker jersey and just say, all right, go be Luka. Well, we know what he going to do. We want to see the best version of Luka. So I'm not saying that he need to cut all his minutes. I'm just saying, we talk about a player being in shape, like, offensively, he's a magician. You don't want to take that away from him. But you might have to cut back something from him so he's not getting rest on the court, because that's what you do most of the time.
That's what you do. You got to find them. You got to find a place, free throws.
You got to find that place, and a lot of times you're getting back cut because that place is on the weak side. That's why you saw James back in the day when James Harden was the leading scorer. James was getting back cut a lot, and they was there was all these videos about James getting back cut. He's taking a break because he's running 3,000 plays on the other end, and that's what Luka is coming from. And so coaching. And so JJ has to coach him as well.
To coach your team.
And when you speak of coaching, I think about this too. What Luka has done in the years that he's been in the league, who can tell him what to do? Like, just think if you're Luka, who am I listening to? None of y'all ever done this except
LeBron James.
LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? That's literally the only person.
There's only one person.
Who was the other person that Luka can literally look at and be like, all right, you did it. All right, I can listen to you.
Yeah, like, hey, yo.
It would have been Kobe and it would have been LeBron.
That's it.
That's it.
So this is going to be a perfect situation.
I like also what the Lakers done by going and getting a center for him to play with.
Absolutely.
Young fella.
Oh, I like that.
Young fella.
So what you think about
It's necessary. It's necessary. And young fella, like you said, was in a bad organization. I won't say bad organization, just a non-winning organization.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he's about to be there with Bron, who's also a very verbal person and explains things. That's the problem. A lot of people say, hey, you go do this, but don't put the explanation behind it. Mm-hmm. And pride for a man, you want why? That's the main question. Brian has a great job of, okay, we just want you in this dunker. We're going to do what we do, and you're going to get an easy lay.
Mm-hmm.
So when a big, especially like me, hears that, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm running through a wall for this motherfucker. He gonna give me the lob. He gonna do all the work and then give me the lob. All I got to do is block shots and run the floor. Come on, man.
Yeah, so
you gonna see
that was a good. You think that was a good trade? Because they gave up.
The first they gave him, and he's a bucket, but Luka plays his best when Derek Lively and Gaffney finish at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and look at the series, in the Boston series last year, the reason why Boston dominated them, they were able to switch 1 through 5.
Yeah, it took it away.
And
they took those triggers.
It takes away the lob there because Luka plays gaps very good, and he can hold you with his eyes. He can hold in pace, and he can throw late lobs. Even in the real short area of the floor, he can lob it. But when you go back and watch how the Western Conference guarded him, they allowed him to play that in between, and Derek Lively and Gaffney shot almost 60+% from the field by dunking, and they had more energy by running the court.
Yep.
So when you look at what Luka needs out of a young big, they're going to go get more. They got Koloko, another young big that's African, 7-foot rim protector. So they load up on at least 2 to 3 bigs. That's what Luka needs.
Going back to Bron, I think one of the things I'm excited about for him, as you reach this point, he's done everything in the game. And I think as you reach this point in his career, you're actually looking for something to keep you motivated.
Absolutely.
And being able to do something a little different than he's done. Like when he came to Miami, I think you guys remember him having the ball, but do you remember him going to the mid-post? Yes. I don't think y'all remember how cold he was when we said, Bron, you have to go to the mid-post. And when he went to the mid-post, he was unstoppable. Now, he only did that for one season. Then he came back out and got that ball. But what I'm saying is, for someone like him that has accomplished everything in the game of basketball, this challenge, for him to play with Luka, to play with somebody who is a mirror image of him in a lot of ways, offensively in the way he thinks, I think this is what can motivate him these next 2 seasons, however many years he's going to play, to showcase his greatness, right? He continues to get to showcase his greatness over and over and over. So this is another instance for him to showcase, I'm going to show y'all how great I am without doing what y'all used to me doing. That's having the ball all the time. And so I look forward to that.
Yeah. He showed that this summer, though, with the Olympics. He trained his ass off, and with the Olympics, he changed the complete game. Defensively on the back end, he talked through the defense. He taking charges. He sacrificed his body. He rebound, throw deep outlets. He set up Steph in pick and rolls, and Steph set screens for him so he can get downhill, but he slip out. And so he got Steph like 2-3 threes late in the game where Steph won the match by him playing different roles. When you watch him hard cutting and communicating and the way he could play with he could play with other great players. He's never not done it.
He's done it in all generations.
In all generations. So that's the last guy you got to worry about, I guess, who he's going to play with.
Yeah.
That makes the difference.
So now we're talking about the trades, but what about, like, today's the last day? I'm sure something else might pop up, but now we go into the buyout season.
We was talking about that earlier, and right now, one of the first ones popped up was Ben Simmons on the buyout. And it's interesting.
Very.
Because everybody got question marks on Ben. I spent 5 years with Ben. I see Ben differently than what he's projected the last 5 years. However, if you get Ben in the right situation.
Like a Kuz.
What's the right situation?
The right situation for Ben.
Don't run from it.
I'm not going to run from it. Ben has the same agent as Jimmy Butler.
Oh, Bernie.
And if I'm Bernie, and I'm the GM for the Golden State Warriors, I'm bringing Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors.
All right, now why? Tell us why.
Because
Tell us why. That don't sound bad at all.
He like that.
Tell us why. Why would you bring Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors?
Watching Ben in these first, 30, 40 games of the season, he's still defending at a very high level.
Okay.
I love what the coach did with him with Brooklyn. He moved him back to the 1 because he realized Ben gets the offense moving. He knows where everybody is. His IQ is next level, and he passes the ball willingly. So now you put him in Golden State, which we know they have the system. Draymond can not only play in the system of dictating, Draymond can play in the corner threes and play without the ball also. So this frees up Draymond.
Put Ben in the Draymond spot?
Ben in the Draymond spot.
Like
and
that.
if you make any mistake, Ben Simmons is dunking that ball on your butt. So because you got to chase out Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, and Looney is a champion. You put Ben Simmons on the Golden State Warriors.
Ooh.
And we're gonna have to talk about who's winning the West.
I like that take. You know why? Because ain't nobody gonna say that.
That's scary.
You know what? And it's funny. It's crazy. And I know I said that 2 years ago.
Oh, here we go.
I said,
here we go.
I said, I'm gonna find it. I said that 2 years. It wasn't on the podcast. It was
If Ben gets a rebound.
I'm telling you.
What does Steph do better than any guard? He gets out and fills the lane.
I know. I really like that, bro.
I love that.
Because when you think about Ben, you think about where he is. We know the Ben that we all fell in love with. And obviously he's dealt with a lot of things from an injury standpoint, trying to get back.
Yep.
But when you think about him, you got to think about where he is now and where he can most help a team. And there's not a lot of teams out there that probably Ben can go in right now and it would make sense for him.
Right.
And so it's only a select few.
It's only a select few.
And when you think about the veteran leadership of that team,
Yep.
when you think about the style of play with that team, when you think about a Draymond type of player, I mean, okay.
The backdoor, the fake DHOs, the pitch ahead passes.
All right.
He finds shooters. And him and Jimmy sharing the same agent on a buyout,
Easy.
you can almost place him where he should be.
Absolutely.
So when we talked about earlier about players being in the right situation, we're going to see if Bernie can put him in the right situation because his career would change. Ben would go to State.
Okay.
I like that.
You talk about the Ben Simmons, the Bruce Browns, these kind of players, they can make a difference
Yes.
for certain teams.
Yes.
They get picked up into the right team. These players will, in a series, you will see them come to life and make a big difference. When we talk about those role players winning you games and winning moments for you. These kind of players that can come in and win a moment for you, that can win a series or win a game for you.
I think sometimes people forget Ben Simmons at one point was at 2.7 or 2.8 steals per game. PG was right behind. He's a passing lane player. You're not understanding the intangibles that he does. Everybody talk about what he don't do. Let's put him in a situation where he can just be him and watch what happens.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
Makes sense.
Before we move on to something else, or before we stop, I want you to tell a story about, we were talking about one of your young fellas. Mm-hmm. And right now they're back in the space, Memphis. They're back in the place where before Ja got hurt and before all the things went a little haywire over there in Memphis, where we knew they were going to be. Right now they're on their way back. But Jaren he's an all-star.
Yeah, he all-star.
He made his way back to that level that, we became accustomed to seeing Jaren at. Tell us a story that you were sharing with us about Jaren.
Man, shout out to Trip, number one. And Jaren spent a lot of time in the gym. Me and JaVale this summer. So JaVale's seen a lot of the work. But when the season ended for Jaren last year, he was on the first flight to LA because they set him the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. He sat down and he said, the year before Braun put them out the playoffs with the level 3 hook over him, the Lakers put them out. Last year, he felt like with the injuries and the way the team went, that he let that organization down, and he made a vow to himself that would never happen again. So we started training. People don't know this. He started training as him being in the playoffs last year, April, May, June, July, all the way through. We trained as if he was in the playoffs. Then we switched to his offseason training after the championship was won. He said, I need to feel this. This is not time for vacation. This is not time for me to go enjoy. This is time for me to set a precedent of who I am and what I need to do. And people don't know the sacrifice that he came in with the mindset. And every day I send him the same text message, reminding him of who he wanted to be and where he's at. Now it's Victor and it's him. One of the two of the best two-way players in this game right now.
Yeah.
Right? The other night against the Bucks, Jaren made 7 threes in a game. 7 for 13 on the road without Ja, and they beat the Bucks. That's what that young man's doing now. So he is on a track of being Defensive Player of the Year because it'll be between him and Victor because he's changing the game. He can switch. He can guard it anywhere, but he became a better driver. He took care of his body better, and he refocused, and he got Memphis sitting right now in the number 2 seed.
I love that.
With a really, really good team, and he's doing it with a different view, but he did sacrifice.
I love that. I mean, you're talking about a player who had already won a Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
You're talking about a player who already got the bag.
Yep.
Well, one of his bags. He already got one of them. It's kind of easy to kind of relax. Like you said, go into that summer and be like, I'm going to take this vacation. But to click back into that mindset to say, actually, when you're watching other team's success and it makes you angry, I love players like that. Like I used to want to watch, like I went to finals. I watched the finals. I would go sit at finals. Not be like people are like, oh, I ain't watching the finals. Why not?
Why not?
I want that feeling in my stomach.
You want to feel it?
I'm jealous. I'm envious. Whatever it is, I want that feeling because I want to be in this. I need to be there. I love the fact that he did that, right? That he called you, said, you know what? This ain't time for that. I want to get back to me. And he is back to him. Now, obviously number 2 in the West, but he's an all-star and he's up for Defensive Player of the Year. So that's a great story.
So what you think about that big fella? You was in the lab with him.
In the lab with him.
In the lab
every
with
day.
him.
And his energy, his defensive energy is amazing. His offensive energy is amazing. And even though it looks crazy, his shot is amazing.
He got like a little
crazy.
He like a little push shot.
His hands just go in, though. It go in. I've contested a couple of times. Like, nah. So I've seen the work, and especially with Chris, and he put in that work for sure.
He got better, bro. And most people know. I told him this is something you try to get players to understand. After 6, 7 years in the league, people know what you're gonna do. You have to develop a counter, but that requires time.
Yeah.
He developed the counter. We didn't go all over the place. We locked in on what he was great at and took that to another level. And we added the counter. When I'm watching him play, he's kicking everybody's butt with what he's great at. And then when you take it away, he's countering you. He's very tough to guard at 6'11", 265 pounds, coming downhill off the dribble.
And the people who defending him don't want to get out there.
No.
Contest that 3.
No.
You go out there, contest that 3, driving right by you.
Driving right by you.
Then you not going out there, he's shooting the 3.
He's shooting the 3.
So you stuck in that middle ground, like, and then you're looking at your coach like, nah, we're going small.
Come on, big fella. Come on over here.
We're going small. God damn, brother, he shot it. You thought that was going in? Pissed.
All right, yo, be good.
So, I want to talk about, because now in a couple of days, about a week from now, All-Star. Are y'all looking forward to see what this new...
The format?
I like the format change.
You do like the format change?
I like change, period. Because it makes you think. It makes you, you get stagnant. Stagnant brings complacency. And the one thing I've learned from a developmental standpoint is players, NBA players, they don't like stagnant. If you change just an inch that away, an inch this away,
it matters.
It matters. And it makes them more competitive. And believe it or not, they're competitive. So change is always good. Just like we talk about the play-in game. I was against it until now. I'm like, ooh.
I mean, I love the in-season tournament.
The in-season tournament.
I love the in-season tournament as well.
Amazing,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you have something in season to actually shoot for and play for, and it's in Vegas. I love that. Who don't want to go to Vegas?
Who don't want to go and get paid for it?
Yeah, but like, I want to go to Vegas. I want to hoop. I want to be on that stage. So you're right. And I think the All-Star game, they've made a lot of change and a lot of tweaks to it.
Right.
And so it can become a little gimmicky
right.
if you keep doing too many changes and adjustments to the game. Ultimately, it's basketball. You want to see competitive basketball. You want to see your favorite players go out there and do what you want to see them do, and that's be great. So no matter what they gonna put out there, you just want to see them guys go out there and be who they are, and ultimately be competitors, be high flyers, shoot the ball from half court over and over. But you want to see them when it's time to lock in. Lock in. That's it. Lock in when it's time to lock in. Have fun, but when it's time to go for the game, it's time to get to that money. You want to see the best do what they do, and that's compete at a high level.
Absolutely.
That's it.
We lost one more team. Cleveland Cavaliers. They made a slick trade. They went and got Hunter.
They did.
Out of Atlanta.
They did.
They did?
Quietly.
Caris LeVert can play, but what this team needed was an ultimate 3-and-D guy. Because if you look at the best team in the East, you need him. Because you got to guard Jason, you got to guard Jalen.
Yeah,
you're right.
You need him.
Yeah.
And they did it slippery. They did it slippery, bro.
Shout out to Kobe Altman up there, man. Shout out to the president, Kobe Altman up there, who did he's been doing an amazing job in Cleveland.
Yes, he has.
By the way, he's done an incredible job. Sure. And so shout out to, I gotta get a black president some love, because there's only a few of them. And so shout out to him and what the Cavs.
Hunter, you guys know Hunter game he's a catch and shoot 3-point guy. He actually has decent enough ball handling skills to be able to handle in sets, but he's a straight line drive guy. He's not a high dribble guy.
His game gonna be real simplified over there with Garland
and throwing that ball to him.
And Donovan. He ain't got it.
And
you ain't gonna have much to do,
big.
bro.
Because he was playing the 4 for Atlanta at some point, but before Jalen got in there, he was the 4. So now he's settled in, bro, to where he got to guard, because in the East, you got to figure out how to guard Giannis. Got to figure out how to guard them 2 guys in Boston.
No.
Well,
You got to figure out how to guard Boston. All them guys.
Excuse me.
That was my question. Is it enough for that Boston team? Because you said something earlier about Boston, about the fact that they've been playing together for a while.
Well, we talk about continuity, right? You talk about what Boston has is you can grab the ball like this, you gonna know you could throw it like this, you know what a guy gonna be, right? And you got certain teams, i.e., let's go Golden State with Jimmy, they're gonna be figuring out their game over these next 35 games, whatever the case may be. Boston know their game. And so that when you come down to those last 5 minutes, when it comes down to execution time, when you on a string and you know what everyone's gonna do and there's no confusion about it, that little tenths of a second that you may take to think and not think becomes
matters.
Dang. And so, that's why Boston is the leader in the bullpen, because their continuity is they have lost nothing.
Nothing.
They swagger, have lost nothing. And they also, you ain't never seen a championship team come back with a chip on their shoulder. They actually came back with a little chip.
They do got a chip.
And it's because Jason Tatum got a chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
And so, I mean, to me, Boston is obviously still number one for me when it comes to that. But when I look at what Cleveland has done, they have edged a little closer.
Yeah.
Right? But no, it's still Boston for me right now, dog. Them dudes. There's some bad boys over there, dog.
Bro.
Ooh, I wouldn't want to guard them.
No. What about you? You think Boston is it?
I definitely think in the East, Boston got it right now. Cleveland, even though Cleveland is playing amazing right now. So, but that's the thing about the NBA. You never know. You never know. We see, but that's assuming everybody's gonna stay healthy.
True.
Right.
True.
You know what I'm saying? We're assuming all 8 teams on that side are gonna stay healthy. You never know what's
going to happen. Everybody gonna stay confident. You lose your confidence. You start struggling and you're like, man.
And at the same time, some teams get complacent. We winning. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you never actually know, but Boston definitely got it right now.
All right. Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that for us, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in to The Why.
All right, peace. We out.